for God on a very special night. We don't talk politics too often. We're going to talk them tonight. Got a little Trump talk. We got some 10 seconds and liberal tears segments. We got even a new segment we're going to break out tonight that I can't wait to reveal. We're also going to go over the top baits for Lake Fork bass fishing for this week and this weekend coming up. Talk to you about conditions, patterns, what's been going on. Give you all the help we can on catching more and bigger fish because that's what we do around here. But I just want to say that as of right now, we are great again. And don't ever forget, don't forget. Don't forget. I'm just warning you, don't forget. Yes, he is. Oh, yeah. Come on. No. Good luck. Love it. Love it. And if you just joined whatever this post, go back and watch the very beginning because that is the best beginning we've ever had to a live stream. If you're not fired up, you're probably on the wrong YouTube channel. I'm just going to let you know because we're fixing to make fun of y'all a little bit. Listen, before we get into making fun of what's going on in the whole country in the political landscape, if you're a stable, well-rounded, sound-minded liberal and you just believe differently than we do politically, we love you. No harm, no foul. You have the right to believe whatever you believe. You have the right to make your own decision in this country, and I fully support that. But when you're the type of liberal that's going to come at everybody just because they vote for a different candidate and make fun of them, when you lose, you fixing to get got, dog. It's your turn. It's your turn. I love all the liberals crying, how am I supposed to go to work? How the hell were all of us supposed to go to work for 4 years getting taxed out of our ass, inflation stealing from our kids? How are we supposed to go to work? We did, so you can suck it up and go to work. And oh, by the way, you might smile and say thank you because he'll make things better for you. That's the first 10 seconds in liberal tears. Go cry about that, liberals. It's on tonight, baby. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it. Appreciate those of y'all dropping comments that are, man. You know when we start out that fired up this early in the live stream, it's going to be a good one. I got in trouble. I didn't really get in trouble. My wife, Lainey, didn't say anything to me about how loud I was being on live stream, but I felt a little bit weird about it in the house. So if we're going to do these live streams where we got fired up, we're going to get fired up, we've got to bring it back out here where it all began. If you don't know, and you've only seen the live streams in the house that we've been doing here recently, for years, we came to you right here from this seat on the couch, which is inside the Big Bass Dojo, also known as my garage. Welcome back to the Big Bass Dojo, everybody. I'm pretty excited about that. I just want to say one more time before we go any further, I want to remind everybody of this. Don't ever forget. Don't ever forget. Not once, but twice. Yeah. Nope. Even when you stop it, it goes back around. Oh my goodness. Is everybody having a good time so far? Let me know in the comments if you're having fun. Let me know. It is a wonderful day to be an American because if you're a liberal that just had the wool pulled over your eyes and you just don't realize this is a great day to be American. It really is. If you only understood, the only people that are voting for Kamala do not understand what's really happening. They don't. And it's not that I'm smarter than you. Some people just haven't had the life experiences. They live in a big city where all the information they get is slanted in one direction. Listen, I understand some of the feelings about, racial divides and this. You've been tricked. The Liberal Party is the one keeping the racial divide going more so than anybody else. And I'll go further than that. Even the Republican Party, all the career politicians, they want us divided. They want there to be issues in the country so they have something to do and another reason to take money out of your pocket and into their pockets. But they're going to tell you they're using that money to fix something when really there's a little piece of that going to fix whatever they say they're going to fix and the rest of it is going in their pockets or their friends' pockets that own companies in some kind of way. It is that corrupt. Dig into it. Do some research for yourself. The pharmaceutical companies are freaking out today. I can assure you that because not young anymore, he's old now, but Kennedy Jr., is coming for that pharmaceutical. Like Big Pharma is in a bind coming up. I really, really hope that he goes after them hard, hard, hard. Like, I can't wait to see that. So many good things, so many possible things. Not that anybody's ever going to listen to me. One thing that I hope we address. Here's the deal. Donald Trump's outsider candidate. He's very popular. He's been a celebrity for a long time, been on TV show. He's able to overcome a lot of the corrupt media machine that is going to spin things. I mean, if you don't think the media spins things and just straight lies to you, then you're just blind. Like, you're not seeing things for what they really are. I really hope that in Donald Trump's second term that he addresses election manipulation, media manipulation, and election fraud. And I'm not for regulations, but I hope we put some serious regulation on those things. These elections are way too important to have it possible for anybody to manipulate them in any way. There's just way too much at stake for us as a country. I don't know why anybody would want to support any policies that allow elections to be fraudulently conducted. I don't have. There's no sound mind person unless you just want to cheat. Like, unless you're just an immoral person. Like, you're either dumb or you're bad. One of the two. You're either bad morals or you're just too dumb to realize what's going on. It's one of those two things. So, I really hope that we address election fraud, because look, if you're a sane, like I said, if you're a liberal and you're sane and you're not one of these ones that is just accusatory of everything, listen, this is not directed at you. All this talk that I got going tonight. A sane, level-headed liberal would understand this. Tell me how Barack Obama in 2008, when George Bush was not popular at all, got 66 million votes. Barack Obama in 2012 got like 65 million votes. Hillary in 2016 got 65 million votes. Yesterday, Kamala Harris got 66 million votes. How in the hell did Joe Biden, of all people, get 81 million votes? Like, go through the history. If you can't see that something happened in 2020 that ain't right, like, what happened in 20? We didn't gain 20 million active voters on one side in that one election, and they just disappeared. That did not happen, folks. That did not happen. Like, if you believe that, I understand why you are a liberal, because you believe all the other BS that they sell you on media outlets. Like, you're easy to fool. It makes total sense that if you believe that that was a legitimate election in 2020, when the vote spiked $20 million, and you have 20 years plus of history to show you it's a pretty stable number. It may go this way or that way a little bit, and that decides who wins. But when it spikes by 20 million numbers, there's no way you didn't cheat, bro. Like, no sane person looks at that and doesn't think you cheated. No way. Whew. Feeling good. Should I play it one more time? Let's play it. You want to hear it one more time? Just remember, folks, not once, but twice. Not once, but twice. Don't ever forget. Yeah. That's right. He is your president. Okay. Kyle Branstad says Joe Biden was just that good. You mean the guy who couldn't finish his term? That dude walked down a flat line the other day, aimlessly past his Secret Service vehicle like he was just like, Forrest Gump, I'm tired. I think I'll go home now. He just walked off, man. It's ridiculous. I'm loving some of the comments. I'm seeing them. I'm not acknowledging them all. Yeah, I mean, the Iowa poll thing, that's another way they do misinformation. That's election fraud in and of itself. When you got major national news media that get to speak to people across the country, and in unison almost, they're out there telling you how there's an Iowa poll saying that the left is going to win Iowa, going to carry Iowa, when it was never close. Like, that was all just like misinformation trying to get people to vote. They have data that tells them if you don't think your candidate has a chance to win, then you're less likely to go vote. That's why they do that. He tried shaking nobody's hand. Yeah, dude, Biden has honestly, I'm not even mad at Biden. Like, he's just part of that machine over there. I'm not mad at him individually. He's just the front piece for the left over the last 4 years. He was the one that was maybe too old and senile to realize what was going on, or maybe They just knew he'd be quiet and not say what really happened in 2020 because it's pretty obvious at this point that something fishy happened. But one thing about Biden, he has given us some memories. He's given us some stuff to remember. That's for sure. All right. Whoo! We're great again, folks. We're great again. Donald Trump is your president. I got to move off that at some point. I don't know that I'm ready to yet, but we'll go ahead and move off. Oh, by the way, we do have, there's a brand new segment, one time only. This is for all liberals. From the company that brought you 10 Seconds and Liberal Tears, that's a Your Lake Fort Guide original. We are very proud to now bring you 4 more years in Liberal Tears. 4 more years in Liberal Tears. So congratulations. That's a one-time announcement. We'll never do that again. 4 more years of Liberal Tears. I love it. What else? Let's see. I think there was one more thing, but I forgot because we don't do scripts around here. Live really means live, and you're depending on a not real big brain to spit all this stuff out, so sometimes things get missed. That happens around here. The dude's name is Keith Whitley? What a name. Wow. Like one of the greatest of all-time country singers, Keith Whitley, who's been dead. You know what's funny is the guy that shares your name, I heard he voted for Harris this year. I mean, he's only been dead for like 30 years, but, you know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I have been elected to make bass fishing great again. Woo-hoo. Bassmaster don't want me in charge. Everybody that wants to whine about something, whoa, you're bass fishing for a living. Shut up. Like, if you don't like it, go start your own tournament trail, bud. That's called free market. By the way, all these bass fishermen that are whining about stuff on the tour, they're whining about their payouts, they're whining about it. That's liberal behavior, guys. Just so you know, just FYI, that's liberal behavior. In a free market society, a company sets up a structure, and if you want to participate in it, you can. You have the freedom to go do something elsewhere. They're talking about creating a bass fishing union. That's liberal behavior, guys. Like in bass fishing, we're supposed to all be pretty much all conservatives. Yeah. Thank you, Michael Bray, for pointing this out, and I'm going to kind of take it a little bit different direction, but I appreciate you just gave me a great idea. I do have breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news in the world of bass fishing. Good news is all of our lakes are going to be at full pull for the foreseeable future due to all the liberal tears that are coming out today. Shout out to Michael Bray. He said liberal tears can keep the lake levels up, so appreciate that. Little help. Little help. All righty, let's get it. Let's talk about some bass fishing. You want to switch over to fishing? You want to talk about fishing a little bit? Okay, Rodney Randolph, let's go. Are you liberal, Rodney Randolph? He says, in bass fishing, we're supposed to all be conservative. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be. You have the right to think however you want to. And as I said earlier in this live stream, I'm not going after a level-headed, left-wing believing person. Like if you choose to vote on the left side of the aisle, that is your choice. But if you're one of those lefties that's freaking out and crying and bawling today, or going, how do I go back to work? This is for you. And if you're one of those that has been telling everybody that votes for Trump how bad they are for the last 4 years and what a bad person, they're a Nazi, they're racist, blah, 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 this is for you. But if you're level-headed on the left, all good, all good. But no, I don't mean that we all have to be conservatives in bass fishing. But bro, when you got, let's face it, pretty much mostly white, rural living, not a whole lot of folks from the city in bass fishing. Most of us are from rural areas. The people that grow up to be bass fishermen are mostly from rural areas. They all, for the most part, I mean like 90% plus probably tend to have very conservative values. So that's what I meant when I said all these bass fishermen, they're talking about forming a union and they're whining about how the tournament's going and all that, the trails rules and all that. They're exhibiting liberal behaviors when 90% of them at least they vote for Trump. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they have to. I'm saying they do. That's just the reality is most bass fishermen are conservative. I know from guide customers, I've had like 2 guide customers in 10 years that aren't conservative. So, didn't mean to ruffle any feathers there. He says, I lean conservative, but you're alienating people. Yeah, I'm alienating every left-wing person that's been talking crap. this whole time. I'm talking crap right back. We clapping back, baby. That's what we do. And I know it's immature and I shouldn't do it, but it's fun, so we're doing it. Like this is supposed to be fun, and it's all in good fun. At the end of the day, you meet me at the boat ramp. If you voted for Harris and we're going bass fishing and you care about that deeply and you want to go bass fishing, we can do it. But if you're going to talk crap about Trump, you can go on and take your butt back to the bank. I don't need your trip fee. Get out of here. That's what we're going to do. Yeah. Getting some good comments, political comments in here. One man says, I'm from Chicago. Chicago in the house. Appreciate it. Shout out to Chicago. And probably one of the most conservative people you'd meet. I saw what Democrats did to Chicago. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you want to turn a liberal conservative, go drop them off in downtown Chicago on a Saturday night about midnight. I'm just saying. Or go drop them off on Skid Row in L.A. Or have them pay taxes in California for a year. I mean, look at how many Californians are moving to places like Texas. I'm just saying. Shout out to our neighbors in Louisiana, by the way. I think they had the biggest margin of victory for Trump last night. So big shout out. We're in East Texas. We're almost in West Louisiana at this point. You know, like we're getting close. Big shout out to our brothers across the red over there, or across the Sabine, whatever it is that borders it. Yeah, kind of part of the red, part of the Sabine. But yeah, all the boys over there in the boot, as they say, man. Appreciate you guys. That was pretty outstanding performance y'all put up last night. That was awesome. So yeah, let's leave the politics behind. I could go all night on that. It's a fun day. It's exciting. You know, the reality is nothing's going to change right away. I hear everybody, oh, we'll be able to afford groceries again. Usually when things go up, even when they go back down, they don't go all the way back down. So maybe they'll go back down. But that'll take time. Like your groceries ain't going to be cheaper next week, dog. Like maybe a year from now. You know, like our immediate lives are not going to be directly affected immediately just like that. One thing that does seem to be immediately affected is the behavior of other countries in foreign policy. If you look at how many people, foreign leaders, were making public statements of support for Trump and all that, like there's no denying that having him at the helm is much more concerning for countries as far as they got to conduct themselves in a certain way or there will be consequences. The reality is that I just saw another comment that distracted me. The reality of the world is America is the world's police and has been for a long time. We are the greatest country that ever existed, and we may not be the financially most successful country at this point. I don't know the data on that. We may not be the best in education. We may not be the best in a lot of things. We have our problems, but America is the greatest country that's ever existed in this world. And some of the reasons I believe that are, number one, you can look at how many people try to come here. America leads the world in immigration from other parts of the world. Number two, the effect that we have on foreign policy in other countries. And we're not always right. There's things that we do sometimes militarily that aren't the right decisions and maybe aren't for the right reasons. You can make an argument for Vietnam. You can make an argument for the war I participated in Iraq, that it wasn't for the right reasons. But at the end of the day, I know what our conduct is over there, and I know all the guys that I was with. You know, our thoughts in our head and our reasoning was, man, we're freeing these people. We're protecting them from evil. And America has done an outstanding job. America has done more to eliminate evil across the world than anybody. That's the truth. How did the Nazis lose? America. World War I, we were involved in that. South Korea, North Korea, the Korean War. If we don't get involved there, if you've seen what's going on in North Korea today, all of South Korea could be under that situation today if it wasn't for America. You know, there's a lot of things we've done, and you can say what you want, but like, dude, you know, Afghanistan's gone to crap now, a lot to do with this last administration, but man, there's bad people in charge over there, and we went and took care of some of them and tried to create freedom, did everything we could to create freedom in Afghanistan and Iraq. It, again, gone to crap now, but I know when we were there, there were kids playing on a soccer field on a base that used to be used for the national soccer team, and is where Saddam's kid would torture soccer players if they didn't perform correctly. Seems like an improvement to me when little kids are laughing and giggling and kicking a ball around as free as they can be on the same field that people used to get tortured on before we got there. So that's why, in my opinion, America is the greatest country ever. Because not only have we built what we've built, at our peak, we've been an empire. That's for sure. Like we've, as far as manufacturing, anything you want to do, there's been peaks and valleys in it, but we've had our peaks economically, social justice wise. We've been a leader in a lot of ways, even though people like to think there's still issues, and there's still issues, but we've been a leader in a lot of social issues. And militarily, we've done more for other countries than every other country in this world combined has. There's no doubt about that. So it is what it is. You can argue with me in the comments if you want to, prove me wrong. Let's move on to bass fishing. I love this country very, very much. Love this country. Always have, always will. My decision to join the Marine Corps was simply this. I was 22 years old when I joined the Marine Corps. Out of high school, I played athletics in college. That's what I love more than anything. I love sports, dude. That's why I coach all my kids in sports now. I love it, dude. You want to know what I love? Maybe more than bass fishing? Football and baseball. Like, I love those games, and I loved all sports, but those were the two that I was, played more than anything, and was fortunate to get the opportunity to play some college athletics, and had some multiple years in a row with knee injuries and things like that took that away from me. Couldn't do it anymore. And I kind of spun my wheels as a young man from 19, 20 until I was 22. There for a couple of years, I really did spin my wheels and did a lot of wild living and crazy things in those years. But at 22, I was like, dude, I got to figure out what I want to do with my life. What am I passionate about? I was actually in a church service with my grandparents that they kind of made me go to, more or less. Thank God that they did. But I was in a church service, and the sermon was on the Lord puts these passions in your soul because he wants you to pursue those things. He wants you to pursue what you're passionate about, which is what led me into bass fishing eventually, down the road in my 30s, or led me to pursuing a career in it. I'd always been involved in it, but as I was sitting there in that church pew that day, it's like, man, I can't play ball no more. That's done. I didn't want to finish college without ball because I hated class. I hated school. Didn't want anything to do with school. The only reason I ever passed a class, even in high school, was because I know I wanted to play ball and I had to pass. Like, same thing in college. Like, when I was done playing ball, I just quit going to class, straight up. And I hated it. And so ball was done, man. I really, in my eyes, you had to finish and get a degree to be a coach. So I had to move on from that, leave that part of my life behind me. What else was I passionate about? And in my head, at 22 years old, the only thing I could think of that I was really passionate about was like, I've always been like extremely proud to be American. I've always had a just patriotic pull in my soul. That's why I joined the Marine Corps, man. Like, that's it. I was in church. They said, follow your passions. The Lord wants you to follow your passions. And other than ball that I couldn't play anymore, the thing I was most passionate about in my head at that time was just being American. So I went and joined the Marine Corps. And that's how I ended up there. And, for those that don't believe, I think most people that follow this channel are probably believers just like me, but man, the reality is God does speak to you, and there's no doubt he spoke to me that day in that sermon, because for those of you that know me intimately, you know that that's what I've done my whole life. I did what I had to do. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I got jobs. Sometimes, at first I had a job I was passionate about, that didn't work out. And then I had, 7 years there or so where I worked whatever job I had to work to make ends meet, and had some success in those. But I've always found my way to do what I'm passionate about. Like, I've been lucky in life. I mean, I've worked really hard to do it, but I'm really fortunate that I heard that sermon when I was 22 years old that told me that I'm supposed to pursue what I'm passionate about by God's command, because I have been able to do some really fun things. And if you want to know how I'm able to fish for a living, it's not because I'm the greatest fisherman in the area or the region or the lake or anything like that. I'm not. It's because I just work. I believe in working hard, and I had great influences in my life that taught me that, a father, a grandfather that taught me about hard work, and they were both very hard, two hardest working guys I ever knew. And I've been able to just go after my passions because of one church sermon when I was 22 years old, and my work ethic that I was taught by my dad and my grandpa. So, and my mom too. My mom too. She taught me about working hard too. So, yeah, that's my deal. All right, Lake Fork bass fishing. It's fall. We've had a pretty good, solid cold front now. We've caught some rain. Didn't do anything to the lake levels. We're just too dry. But lake's low, but it does have some grass in it. There are fish on the bank. The water temps aren't going to drop enough from this cold front to remove the fish from the bank. These fish will stay, in my experience over the years, these fish on the bank are going to stay up around the bank in a big way, in big numbers, for until around Thanksgiving, sometimes a week or two after. But usually kind of once you get into December, it gets a little harder to catch them on the bank. You have to go more to the creek channels within a big flat. I mean, there's some things we can do. We'll talk about that when that time comes. But right now, you can kind of just go down the bank and catch fish. Like, it's fun. It's hard sometimes because you can go long stretches without any bites if you're in the wrong area, for sure. And even when you're in the right areas, you can go pretty long stretches without bites. Unfortunately, that is part of it. And it sucks. But when you find them, you usually have a stretch where you'll get several bites. So it may be a 10-yard stretch, it may be 100, it may be a 200-yard stretch, whatever it is. It may be bigger than it. But you'll have a stretch where those fish are working in groups, or they're stacked into that one stretch, and you can get several bites in that area. So the key right now that I'm telling anybody that asks is, man, you got to cover water. That's a big deal. Got to cover water. If you can find good, healthy underwater vegetation, hydrilla coontail, that makes it better right now. It just makes it easier to locate them. It seems like their location is more random. Like they may be off the bank some. They may pull out into the middle for a day or for a half a day or whatever if there's not grass. If there's grass along the bank, the good underwater grass like we're talking about, it locates those fish. They're going to be around that grass. Now, you may have to cover a mile of it or 2 miles, but they're going to be on that grass somewhere. You know, like they're going to be up there. So, and hell, I may be completely wrong. They may not be up there any more than they are in other areas. It just gives you more confidence, gives you something to fish, and makes you feel better about it. And that may be the case. For me, what we've been doing is covering that grass. Where we find that grass, we're covering that grass, covering tons of water, not expecting them necessarily to be, like if I caught them on this stretch today, I don't expect them to be right there tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to fish that area, but if I don't get bit there, I'm not going to get disappointed and be like, oh, my fish left. No, they might just be another 500 yards down the bank or another 1,000 yards, whatever. Like, they just move around a lot. And you'll catch them on this stretch today and that stretch tomorrow. That happens. Sometimes you'll catch them for many days on the same stretch. So, got to cover water. With that being said, when you go to select baits, that's a big part of it is what can I be efficient with? And if you're fishing grass, it's going to be a couple baits. It's going to be a chatterbait, a swim bait, or topwaters. The white chatterbait's been a deal. I'm throwing everything shad colors right now, guys. Everything on my moving baits is shad colored, white, gray, silver, somewhere in that realm. Been throwing a lot of chatterbaits. Been throwing some little, not little, kind of medium size, like 4 to 5 inch paddle tail swim baits. Been throwing the old whale quite a bit. That's a swim bait I've been throwing, but it doesn't really matter. That's the color. That's the exact one we've been throwing quite a bit. And really, I would throw a Kitech or anything else. I'm throwing that swim bait because when I was sponsored by 6 Cents, I got a bunch of them, and I still have a bunch of them. So we're going through them, man. We're trying to use them up, but make use out of them. But they're good baits, no doubt. That's the whale, and it catches them. But if you've got a boat that's stocked with Kitechs, it'll catch them. If you got a boat that's stocked with Reaction Innovations, what's that called? Oh, God dang it. The Skinny Dipper. That'll catch them. Like whatever little paddle tail you got, a lot of them will catch them. So all that's good. You can throw a glide bait around. You're just not going to catch as many up shallow on it as you will the other baits. And then the other thing is topwaters, man. You can throw a frog. If it's real grassy, you can throw a frog. You can throw a buzz bait. Or you can throw a bait that I like to throw a lot this time of year, and I've been throwing it and catching fish on multiple lakes on it. This is a spook, or a spook style bait. It's not a Zara spook, head and Zara spook. This is actually from Cornerstone Baits, a Texas company. Great company in Central Texas, makes very high quality baits. They're not real well known. They're not a big company, but as far as quality components, quality bait design, good, it's going to catch them. That's the Big Swift from Cornerstone Baits. It's as easy to walk as any spook you'll ever find. So big plug on that right there. Great bait from Cornerstone. Man, they also, this time of year, if you don't have a lot of grass in your lake, go buy a square bill from Cornerstone. They make a great square bill. They've got great lipless crankbaits. We're going to talk about lipless crankbaits here in a minute because it's getting pretty close. We're almost at that time where lipless crankbaits become a real big deal. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But Big Swift from Cornerstone Baits, can't plug that bait enough. Great. If you want a square bill, I am using their square bills at times when I get in areas that don't have grass. If I'm on a different lake, or if I want to fish a stretchy fork that doesn't have grass, instead of throwing a chatterbait that hangs in wood, I'll throw the square bill from Cornerstone in that situation. So Great company. Know the guys down there. I've actually partnered with them at Bass Amigos Fishing, so I don't own any part of Cornerstone. I'm not invested in any part of Cornerstone, so it's not one of those plugs, but it is a plug that, man, I love that company. I love those guys so much that I partnered with them on a separate company, and I believe in what they're doing at Cornerstone. So, oil down for Trump. I don't know, man. Oil prices, yeah, I mean, maybe. It depends on what they do. Depends on how much reserves he builds up and all that. That's a very complicated question that I'm probably not qualified to answer. I can almost assure you that I'm not. But so that's kind of the winding base, the moving base that we're throwing right now. If you get a day where it's not windy, which I don't remember the last day we had that wasn't windy. It's been blowing lately for sure. And it's probably, as long as these fronts keep coming and going, it's going to blow most every day right now. But if you get a day that's not windy, you need to pick up a fluke. Pick up a fluke, pick up a whacking worm. And it's a hard thing to do, covering water with those, but you catch them better on the non-windy days if you go slow. That's just the reality of it. So, see if we can answer any questions. Y'all want to hear it one more time? I mean, I kind of do. Y'all want to hear it one more time? That's right. There we go. Bill Lewis ATV is a wicked square bill. Pretty sure he could cast it out of the woods behind his house. I've never used that one. I appreciate that's a good tip. I've never used that one. I may have to check that one out. That sounds good. Sounds good. Square bills to me, I mean, a lot of them, here's a Cornerstone square bill. This is an old bluegill. I just happen to have this sitting here. It's a bluegill pattern, but that's one of their square bills. You can see got great paint jobs. Like I said, they run great, they deflect great, and great components, great hooks, all that good stuff. And they're just a really good square bill. So there's one laying around too. That's their kind of 2.5 size. And that's more of a shad pattern. I don't throw that one as much. So if I'm going to throw that one, that's going to be on a really bright, sunshiny day when I throw those kind of chrome-looking ones. I can't remember the names of their colors, or I'd tell you. But they've got some good, I know honey shad's a color that I throw, I think. They've got another, like, green-backed shad that I throw that one a lot. But, yeah, shad colors are all good. So the other thing that's coming, there's a couple things that are coming. There's a jig bite, and there is a lipless crankbait bite that are coming. So right now, this weekend, don't worry about that. Just know that jig bite's coming. And the first jig bite's going to be a shallow jig bite. You're going to want to throw a green and brown jig. You're going to want to throw it shallow around docks, wood, grass, things like that. You're going to want to trim that really short. I did a little short video on it the other day. Here's the deal. The jig bite early in the fall, or in the middle of the fall before we get to that cold water winter jig bite, there are young of the year crawfish that are kind of underdeveloped. They have soft shells. Their claws aren't fully developed. And they're green and brown in color. And bass snack on those big time when the water gets into the 60s up shallow. It's a deal that happens every year. I don't ever hear anybody else talking about it. It's something I read in a Bassmaster article from a dude from Louisiana that worked on a crawfish farm that started talking about this in that article. And I read this, I don't even know how many, long time ago. And it's a pattern that I've kind of checked out in the fall over the years because I've always loved fishing in the fall, way before I was guiding. And it's worked for me for years and years and years. It's worked for me, and I don't see anybody else really pursuing this precise, exact pattern. So it's a way to go catch some fish on your lake or on fork that other people aren't targeting. So get a compact jig. This is one of the jigs I designed from Bass Amigos Fishing. That's our B-Law crawl color. This is my favorite overall color when we're not throwing the black and blue in the winter. Like most of the year, this is my favorite color. Spring, summer, fall, love this color, B-Law crawl. Green and brown, green and orange, something like that. You can see how I trim the skirt right at the bend of the hook. You're going to want to get a trailer and trim the trailer where it's nice and compact. I don't have a trailer just sitting here. I'd show you. But I think Berkeley Pit Boss makes one that kind of has, that's kind of got some different looking claws. They're just not fully developed claws. They're just kind of little nubs that hang out and kick around. Perfect. Trim that down as tight as you can to make you want the bait to be as small and compact lengthwise as you can. That seems to be a key deal on this jig bite this time of year. So just something for you guys to check out from now going forward, a secondary bite that you can pursue that maybe everybody isn't pursuing. Then the lipless crankbait bite. So right now on tough days, you can catch them on that little 1/4 ounce lipless crankbait. But we're coming up to the time where the like real lipless crankbait goes down, and you can start right now. But fishing it in those grass areas, fishing it on the deeper edge of those grass areas, fishing it in drains after cold fronts. So if you get a cold front come through right now and shock you, we don't have anything coming this weekend, but if you get a cold front right now that shocks you, man, you can take that lipless crankbait and get it in the edges of that grass around the drains and the deeper edges, and that'll take a day where other people aren't catching them, and you'll catch them on that lipless crankbait. And Cornerstone makes a great lipless crankbait. I love it. You can kind of start throwing the reds right now. If you're a red guy, you can start right now. I typically don't pick those up till December myself, but I like that red color. That's a Cornerstone lipless crankbait right there. Listen to this. Don't know how well that sound shows up on the live stream here, but what you have in their bait, and the reason I love it so much, it's very unique. The sound it makes is very unique. They actually combine. They have a chamber with a one knocker and chamber with BBs. So traditionally you have the multi-BB sound and you have the one knocker. Or Strike King made one that had 2 one knockers in it, basically, the 2-step. And that's kind of unique, but this one's even more unique. So having both sounds combined, I really like it. I've had good success catching fish on this lipless crankbait over the years. This is the honey shad color I told you I throw. So this time of year, when I'm throwing lipless crankbait, I'll reach for a shad color like this. That's honey shad, got a little orange on the bottom, but it's got this good shad color. Here's another shad color they make with a stripe down it. So you've got those striped shad in there. I don't know, but you can throw that one. This is a color I really like, especially if the water's clear or it's a really bright day. It's kind of just a translucent with a little shade of purple, a little dark back, a little orange belly. I love this color in clear water and on bright days. And then here's the greenback shad color that I was telling you I throw in their square bill a lot. It's got a greenback, it's got the yellow stripe, and it's just like a white, like off-white side on it. Really good color there. So they make a lot of great stuff, man. Here's another red they make. I just got a box full of Cornerstone traps, man. I love them. So like a deeper, darker red, a little bit of translucentness to it, but great paint job again. And then I showed you guys the bluegill colored square bill. I wouldn't throw the bluegill colors this time of year myself, but that's a great bluegill pattern. Just kind of featuring some of their baits here for you guys. And here's another one that's pretty cool. Like if you got a little dirtier water, hey, come on now. You know what I'm saying? So good stuff from Cornerstone Baits. Be sure you check them out. Get stocked up for winter on lipless crankbaits. It's a bait we're going to throw all winter. Just know, like, you're going to throw this bait. You want one that's got a unique sound, might catch you a few more fish. Go get that lipless crankbait from Cornerstone. It's a good one. So there you go. Do they have chrome? Yeah, they have a chrome pattern. I don't have a trap, I don't think, in one, but I've got this square bill right here. See that chrome? That's a chrome with a brown back and a little bit of blue and purple in it. That's their chrome pattern right there. I do have a trap in it. I thought so. Got to have at least a couple of everything. You know how it is. Yeah, there's that chrome pattern. Good chrome pattern. Kind of almost a gold chrome. Got gold tint to the chrome for sure, which I love gold chrome. Y'all know that if you watch the channel. So, there you go. Chrome blueback like the old rat ale traps. They don't have the chrome blues now. That's kind of a rat ale trap deal there. I know Strike King made one of that, but that originally is that's a rattle trap color, that old chrome blue. Talking about growing up on Lake Conroe, that chrome blueback trap. Yeah, that was one that was around a lot. Do I ever throw a hybrid hunter? Yeah, a hybrid hunter is a good bait. You know, that is a what was that bait called? It was made by Strike Pro originally. It was saltwater bait. Cool, kind of interesting story behind that bait. So if you know, like, the local weekend angler history of Texas, man, Russell Cecil and Todd Castledine used to beat the hell out of everybody. like Todd Castledine made a full-time living fishing weekend tournaments in Texas and did it for a while and was unbelievable. Well, it's called a Bubba. Strike Pro Bubba is what it was. And it had that L bill, and it was the only one like it. And he figured out that you can throw that bait and wind it through grass like a rattle trap. And it's really effective and catches them. And he had that deal. They had that deal. Him and Cecil had that deal themselves. And they took everybody's money for a while on that thing. And now 6 Cents has an L-shaped crankbait. And oh yeah, when they came out with that, guess who was working with 6 Cents? Todd Castledine. And now Strike King has the hybrid hunter, and guess who works for Strike King? Todd Castledine. So, yeah, that all originated from the Strike Pro Bubba that Todd fished back in the day. And the only other ones like it that exist were designed by him or helped designed by him while he was working with those bait companies. One 6 cents and one is Strike King. So, yep. No, they're good. The Hybrid Hunter, I would say, if I'm ranking them, the Hybrid Hunter is better than the 6 cents version. I think there were some things that 6 cents, I don't know if they just didn't want to directly knock off the Strike Pro Bubba. And so there's some things that are a little bit different about the 6 cents Swank, is what it's called, if I remember right, from the old Bubbas. But the Hybrid Hunter is pretty much just like the old Bubba, which was the deal. So it's a very legit bait. And yes, there are, so I could go reach right over the edge of that boat right there and pull a couple Hybrid Hunters out. All right, if y'all got some questions, now's the time to ask them, and we will answer every one of them that we can. We appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Hope we had some fun. We had some fun in the beginning. I had fun in the beginning. I haven't even done this tonight, which is weird and strange. So it's getting late. It's got to be time to do this. Cheers, y'all. Let's get it. Had to take 2 gulps there since it's been so long. Hybrid Hunter Jr. and Red Crawl doing great on Lake of the Pines. I bet it is. That's a good place to throw it. Best southern smallmouth bait? Ooh, I'm not the best guy to ask about smallmouth. I've caught about 10 of them in my life. Yeah, no, I'm not well, I caught more than 10 in one day on camera a couple years ago. But anyway, I'm not I don't know, bro. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't freaking know. I know when we caught them, I caught them on a trap in December on Lake Belton, and just caught them on creek channel swing flats, like wherever the river channel would swing up by the bank and it would make a flat off that, that's where we caught them. The Rapala Rat L trap, the Rapala rattle trap. Oh, I don't know the Rapala's rattle trap. The old Rat L Gold Chrome is one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Somebody's asking if I have any bakers. I don't even know what bakers are. Is this some new top secret guide stuff? Do I throw a flipping tube? I do, man. I don't throw it like up north, but I do. I've got a crawl tube. So the Lake Fork Tackle used to make a crawl tube, and Big Black Baits actually still makes it. And they were poured by the same company. Like Lake Fork Tackle had this poured out of house, so they're the exact same. But the Lake Fork Tackle crawl tube, they quit making a long time ago. But I still have a big box full of them. Yeah, no, I use them. I like them a lot. What's my favorite frog? Favorite frog is going to be the new one that came out a couple years ago. I think it's the best one I've ever used. It is the Toad Thumper Lures frog. I've been using that. I don't have one of those laying here, but I've been using that one quite a bit. Caught some good fish on it lately. Man, it's durable. It holds up. You can do anything. It's a popping frog. They make a popping and a non-popping. I always use a popping one because you can do anything you want. That popping frog, it walks so great. One of my favorite things about it is it seems to have a little bit better buoyancy than other frogs. And I think that's what makes it walk so easy for a popping frog because it sits a little higher in the water. But it's just a great frog. You can do any kind of action you want to, do all the tricks. It's got a great hookup ratio. It's durable, like I said earlier. It's just all around a really good, probably the best overall frog I've ever used. Topwater toad bait over grass on a weightless Texas rig. Yeah, no, that's the old horny toad bite. Yeah, the old Zoom horny toad or rivet. Yeah, like, yeah, no, we throw them. We definitely throw them. Yeah, no, it's a good way to cover a lot of water. It's a good thing to do this time of year. You can cover a lot of water with it for sure. Favorite JDM or discontinued bait? JDM bait. JDM bait would be that I've actually used the most is the OSP Blitzmax shallow crankbait. The OSP Blitzmax shallow crankbait is a special shallow crankbait. Yeah, it really is. Rodney Randolph saying he'll look up the frog I just mentioned. Said he likes a swamp lord. It walks good. It's heavier than most, so it disturbs the mat more. So yeah, if you're going over mats, then that toad thumper frog may not be the best one because it is not heavier. It's like I said, it's more buoyant. It sits high in the water. It will not move matted stuff as good as some other frogs. I will say that. That's true. So if you're talking about fishing true mats, then yeah, you're probably better off with something else. Good questions. Keep them coming. I like the questions. True cheese. Yeah, no, the toad thumper lures frog is not going to be the deal for true cheese. It's just not. I mean, you could do some modifications to it to make it work good and that, but the bigger frogs that sit lower in the water are better for that matted stuff. Keep them coming, boys. Y'all keep them coming. We'll keep answering. If not, we'll wrap it up here in a minute. But yeah, Donald Trump is the president. Let's get it. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a fan. And you know, the funny thing about it now is like I'm kind of a Donald Trump fan now, but I was not a Donald Trump fan. Like in 2016, I was like, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not voting for Hillary, you know, but like I was not like the way he conducted himself, the way he carried himself, the way he said things, some of the things he said, didn't really like that, man. That's not who I want to be the leader of our country. But while he was a president, pretty much everything he did was great. Like, I didn't disagree with just about anything he did as a president. That's the first time I could say that in my lifetime. So then I was to a point in 2020 where I was like, all right, not his biggest fan, believe in him as a leader. He's done a great job, even though there's some things I wish he would do different. Now, at this point, the way it is on both sides, I don't give a shit. I don't care what he says. Just let's get some results. And he's gotten better results than anybody I can remember in my adult lifetime as far as the results he got for the country. So. Favorite spinnerbait? Spinnerbait, yeah, War Eagle, probably the best, dude. War Eagle's really good. Santone, local company, makes some good spinnerbaits, so I use some of their stuff, especially they make smaller ones that are really good. That Got 5 spinnerbait from them is a little smaller spinnerbait's really good. What release tools do you carry? I mean, doing what I do, bass fishing, man, we just got pliers, like needle nose pliers to get down in there. We just lip them and plier them. Never ran into a situation where I needed anything else. Paul Wall, what about Paul Wall? He's the people's champ. His chains light up like a lamp because he's back with a camp. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm a Paul Wall fan, baby. Listen, I'm from down close to Houston now. I wasn't from like the city, but like I wasn't that far from it. I need to make a red bait and name it MAGA. I like it. I like it. I like it. We come out. Maybe we'll come up with a red color or something named MAGA. I like that. That's a good idea. Appreciate that, Topwater Mafia. My guy. Somebody said, who? Mike Jones? Talking about 281-330-8004. Hit Mike Jones up on the low because Mike Jones about to blow. Yes, sir. Anglers International Bait Shop in Chicago area had a Trump frog, had the hair on top and everything. That is amazing. I love that. That's awesome. Favorite hybrid hunter colors for stained water? Man, I don't know their color spectrum that great. I'm not, I don't know it that well. So in all crankbaits, this is what I do. I get an opaque shed color that I like. By opaque, I mean, I don't have one. So that greenback shad that I showed you earlier, or honey shad. Honey shad's a good one. Or that greenback. I get a solid, by opaque, I mean it's no translucent, it's solid. I want a solid shad. I want a translucent shad. I want chartreuse black, which that's purple, but chartreuse black. I want crawfish colors. I want a bluegill color. And I want one that has a ton of color contrast, like this old one from 6 cents. Bright orange. I want something that's got bright colors and has a lot of color contrast. When the water's dirty and you can go and flash that bright contrast at them, that gets their attention. So that is that's the colors I try to get in crankbaits. Now, for me to go off and name any colors from Hybrid Hunter, I don't know, man. I've got some shad colored ones and I got some crawfish colored ones, and that's all I got. Favorite jig specifically for skipping, looking for a better one with a good bait keeper. A flat head is important, right? So see on the jig that I designed, the bottom's got a flat wide head. So our jig will skip pretty good. Our jig will skip. This is a Bass Amigos fishing jig, Versa jig. It's called the Versa jig from Bass Amigos Fishing. You can find it at bassamigosfishing.com. That jig will skip pretty good. The first run of them we got is only in 3/4 ounce sizes. That's going to make it a little tougher to skip. You can skip it, but it'll be tougher. What you want to get is a jig that has a flat head. So the old Arky style jigs are actually the best skipping jig on the market. I don't care what anybody tells you. They're trying to sell you something. The best skipping jig on the market is the old Arky style jigs in about 3/8 ounce. You can skip that thing 1/2 ounce tops. You can skip it a mile. The problem with that is it's the worst jig to get hung up in. Like, it hangs up worse than any jig you've ever had. So it's kind of a balancing act. Like, the better it skips with that wide head, usually the worse it gets hung up. And if you're skipping it under docks, you don't want to get hung up a lot. So something with a triangular type of head like this, where the bottom's wide, but it's got some angles to it, so it'll kind of roll and come through the corners of the dock pilings and the cross beams and all that. That's what you're looking for in a jig to skip under a dock. Bait keepers, man, I think, most jigs have pretty good bait keepers. If you have an issue with a bait keeper on a jig, man, that's an easy problem to solve. You get your little bottle of super glue and you dab it on that plastic and you put it up on that jig keeper and you just hold it there for about 10 seconds and now you're good to go. It ain't going nowhere. Best topwater lure? It depends. I mean, so you can't just do that because there's categories, right? So for walking baits, I'm really in love with this Cornerstone walking bait, the Big Swift from Cornerstone. For popping style baits, nothing beats the old Yellow Magic. Nothing beats that. Frogs, overall, I like that Toad Thumper frog the best. Buzz baits, what is that buzz bait? There's a buzz bait where it hits the head. It's like, I think it's called a head knocker, but the blade actually hits the head and goes tink, 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 real, real loud. So that's my favorite buzz bait. So, you got to break it down by category. Walking bait, somebody said shower blows. Oh, man, I'm not a huge fan of that one. Before I found this, the best topwater walking bait I thought was probably that damn Vixen. Now, Vixen's kind of hard to get your hands on, but Reaction Innovations Vixen was a great topwater bait, a walking bait. Baits tearing and you want a stout hook. So the baits tearing deal, if you find a jig that has something like 6 cents makes a couple jigs. Their regular flipping jig doesn't have this, but like their swim jig does, and I think they make like a heavy cover jig, but it's a big jig like ours. But if you can find a jig that's got a screw lock, okay, that is, if you get a screw lock on there, that bait ain't going nowhere, Jack. How does the buzzbait sound again? Tink, 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 tink. That's how it sounds. You know what I'm talking about. It goes tink, 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 tink. As it spins around, that's how it sounds. Ooh, what's the best glide bait? Oh, man, that's a tough one. Man, a lot of it depends on how much money you want to spend. Depends on if you want to go like big glide bait, because there's some like small and medium sized glide baits that are really like good bite getters. Really good bite getters. Somebody wants to hear the buzzbait sound again. It goes tink, 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 tink. That's it. That's the buzzbait sound. The last time I'm doing it. No more. Glad you guys are having some fun at my expense. I love it. So if you're talking about like a big glide bait that's really good, I've never owned one, but I mean the Hinkle is supposed to be unbelievable. I've never owned one. Like high-end glide baits, I really like the old HPH gliding gizzard. That's high power herring or whatever. Fish Atlanta Guide Service used to make them. I think he still does. I've got a few of those left over. They're awesome. But like, man, dude, an S waver, like a River to Sea S waver, is not an expensive glide bait. It's really good. Catches them. There's an old Evergreen ES flat. You can buy the blank, paint it yourself. You can buy the. You used to be able to buy the blank for like $5, and you can paint it yourself. And Smash Tech made some for a while. The Smash Glide, he was buying that blank and selling them pretty cheap, like $20 or something, $20, $30 after a custom paint job and hardware and all that stuff. That's a pretty good price. And I've got a bunch of those. I've got one that I've got sitting over here that's retired because it kind of got some rusty hooks on it. And then it got rust on the bait, and I just had put it over here and hadn't ever picked it up again. It's caught in the bag it was in here. Hold on, it's hung up. We're hung up, boys. But this one, you can see it's got rust all over the bottom of it. Stuff got to eat up. But this little glide bait right here is little. Dude, I caught more fish on this glide bait than anything. And I think Smash Tech still sells it. You call it Smash Glide. It's probably on their website. Dude, this little bait right here as a glide bait, it's caught more than any other glide bait I've ever used. But it's not a big glide. If you're wanting to go that big, high-dollar glide bait, man, there's so many of them out there, and I don't mess with a whole bunch of them. Honestly, I'm not the best guy to ask about that. But, dude, like, for price and everything else, like the S-Waver is kind of hard to beat. What was that one? Man, I got one in a bag in there that I haven't thrown in forever that I used to throw all the time. It was really good, too. I can't remember the name of it. HPH are as hard to get as a Hinkle. I know. I know they are. I got mine years and years ago, and I've held on to them for dear life. And it literally took me a year to get them after I ordered them. There's some good glide bait suggestions coming in the comments. And honestly, some of you guys, me being a guide, dude, it's like that big glide bait deal is hard to do as a guide. Like, it's hard to have the right people in your boat to do it, have the right situation to do it, where you get enough bites to keep people happy. Like, I don't get to do it very much. So I'm not the best guy. Most guides are not going to be the best guy to ask about glide bait fishing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rodney Randolph says Zorro Bait Company makes the buzz bait I'm talking about. Where he said there may be one. I know we've got an individual that's making some around Lake Fork. Like, I see it in the shop at Lake Fork, and I just can't remember. Oh, Rowdy Buzz. Rowdy Buzz is the name of the buzz bait I'm using, but I'm sure it's the same as the one you're talking about made up there. Rowdy Buzz is the name of it, and the old ones were made by Booger Man. It was the head knocker or headache or something like that, made by Booger Man. That was the old one's the original one, and it got discontinued a long time ago. But Rowdy Buzz makes that one that I use, but I'm sure, like I said, that Zorro bait's probably the exact same buzz bait. What's the biggest bass I've ever caught? Biggest bass I've personally ever caught was 11 pounds. It's like, it bounced back and forth between 11.1 or 11.0, so went with 11.0. Booger Man are back. Wow, Booger Man buzz baits are back. That's cool. That is cool. Yeah, they were back in the day, dude. They were fun. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, being a guide, like, customers catch more of the big fish than I do. The biggest bass any of my customers ever caught was 12 pounds and 13 ounces. So really big fish. And it was a really big fish. It was the end of May, so that fish was post-spawn, weighing 12, 13. Like, she was huge and she wasn't skinny, but her belly was a little hollow. Like, she wasn't blowed out fat. Like, when that fish was pre-spawn, she had to be, she was almost 13 as she was. She had to be close to 15 when she was pre-spawn. They gain, like, a 10-pounder is supposed to gain like 1.5 pounds with eggs versus without. So, like, 12 pounds, 13 ounces, probably 14.5 or so. Huge fish. That's for sure. It's funny, I've caught some of the, like, 2 of the 12 pounders I've seen in a boat that customers have caught were like they didn't have eggs in them. They were hollowed out. I don't know if there's something to that, if they bite better, they once they get rid of them eggs, they're a little more hungry, whatever. So I don't know. But now I can tell you a few stories of some fish that we've lost, like everybody that fishes enough on Fork. I've got some stories on some big ones. That, it's hard to weigh them in the water, but like seeing as many big ones as I've seen over the years, you get a pretty good idea. And like I know like what their minimum was, you know what I mean, and it was up there. So, what's your best Whopper plopper to have, man? I haven't ventured out much off the original Whopper plopper myself. They still, you know, when before Chris Lane. So I was fortunate. I actually had a couple Whopper ploppers in my boat before Chris Lane had that. When I say before Chris Lane, I mean he had that big terminal in Toledo Bend in like 2016, maybe somewhere in there, where he was catching them on that Whopper plopper, and I think he finished second behind Kevin Van Dam when Kevin Van Dam won deep cranking. But before that tournament, man, I saw a video like a year before that, and I know I had them the spring before that, so at least a year before that, I saw a video of Tactical Bass and put out on YouTube of the Whopper Plopper, and just a cool video. They're such great videographers, those guys. I mean, they're good instructors. They make good content. They used to be my favorite YouTube channel back in the day was Tactical Bass, and before YouTube bass fishing was a thing. But because I saw that video, I went and got some Whopper Ploppers, ordered some, and man, I don't know that I was the only guy on fork with them, but dang, it felt like it for a while. I mean, there was a couple other guys that I knew had them, but pretty special that first year throwing them and throw them all. Just became a big believer in them, and then once everybody throws them, it fades. That next year was still really good. The year after that was pretty good. Now it's just kind of something you pull out situationally every once in a while, but I still go back to the original Whopper Plopper, the one that I've just got a lot of confidence in. All right, boys. Hey, man, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's starting to get pretty late on me. I got to get in there and get some sleep so I can get back after it tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, hey, cheers, y'all. Just remember, Donald Trump is your president. Enjoyed it tonight as always, man. Thank y'all so much for watching. And I'm not real sure what the content's going to be next week, but I got to find a way to get you some by the end of the week so we can air it next week, and we will do everything we can to make that happen. So appreciate y'all watching. We'll have some content for you next week, and we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.